The Capitals beat the Kraken 5-2. Washington have now won its last two games at home after losing six straight. Winning feels good, doesn't it? We'll talk about that all and more next on Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome in to Locked On Capitals. I am your host, Dan Homey. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So when you are using your podcatcher of choice, make sure and hit that follow or subscribe button. That way you will know when the new podcasts are available. Well, wow, what a great feeling. The Capitals beat the Kraken 5-2. Washington have now won its last two games at home after losing six straight. And, that's what it's all about. It's getting that positive momentum going forward. I know the team just kind of seemed like they were in a funk for a while, but having Vanecek in net, I think, is really kind of what helped solidify that lineup. And it's given that boost of confidence that, guys, we can do that. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And it was the game that had Wilson on the top line, and that's always good when you have Wilson on the top line. They've kind of toyed with different people. They've had Sheary up there, and Sheary's got that good goal scoring touch too. But I think that Wilson is just that big body out there that's kind of an intimidator. You're going to step up to Ovechkin and be like, "What? What are you going to do?" Wilson's not afraid to throw down with anyone, and I think he kind of has that reputation around the league that he's a goon. But I mean, don't tell that to him or anyone that's a Caps fan. He is a great goal scorer, and he showed it tonight. So Ovechkin on the top line. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the game. First of all, we're going to break down the game in the first segment. And then in the second and third segment, we're going to talk about Vitek Vanecek and Ovechkin as he's making his way to being the goal scoring leader. And I think that he's going to do that. Next is Jaromir Jagr. And I think, it's going to take some time before he catches Gretzky, but I think that it's ultimately doable. So Vanecek got the started in net last night, and he played really well. And in some kind of unfortunate news, they sent Zach Fucale back down to AHL Hershey. And Samsonov was the one that backed up, and I'm not really sure what's going on there. Why won't they go all in on Fucale? It seems to me it's one of those things like I've talked about before where Samsonov is our number one. So that's who we're going to go with. Samsonov is our number one. And I mean, as long as I guess you have Vanecek starting, that's an okay motto to have. But what if he faltered? Samsonov has been inconsistent at best. He's had brief flashes of greatness, but overall, I don't think he's been as advertised. You remember when they picked him up, they lauded him as the number one goalie in the Washington Capitals organization after Braden Holtby left. And I think that, what would work best is if you could send Samsonov down to AHL and kind of refocus him a little bit and let Zach Fucale get some reps. So, and what ended up happening in that transaction is the Caps recalled Axel Johnson-Fjällby, and they reassigned Fucale to Hershey. Important note that Fjällby has played 9 games, one more, and he needs waivers. So either he is in Washington for the long haul or they don't intend to actually play him. And as we know, he did play last night, and he is filling in for Carl Hagelin. As you guys know, he had sustained that eye injury. And from all reports, it sounds like that he is going to be out for the remainder of the season. Now, those eye injuries, those are nothing to mess with, of course. You got to think more outside than just hockey. Obviously, we're going to miss Hagelin on that line with Dowd and Hathaway. But more than that, just his day-to-day life, I really am my prayers go out to Hagelin that everything is okay. It wasn't even an injury that was sustained in a game. It was in a practice. So just kind of one of those, freakishly kind of fluke accidents that happen out there. So let's just hope that Hagelin is okay. And like I say, it doesn't sound like we are going to get him back this season. But hopefully next season. And that's what they have to do is they just kind of have to look forward. to what's coming ahead. Because as we make that push towards the playoffs, you got to have depth. You got to be ready. The Capitals have been that. They've been next man up all season, haven't they? I think so. You had Leeson and Protas and all different kind of guys. And Hendrix Lapierre, they had him earlier in the season. So I think that, looking down the pike, I think that the Capitals will be okay. And just having that depth, sometimes GMs make those moves and you're like, well, why did they pick this guy up? When your team sustains a lot of injuries and COVID is still raging, you can kind of see why they did that. So Vanecek started strong, and he has a .920 save percentage. And like I say, he's just kind of that calming force in net, isn't he? It's just like the Capitals. It's the same Capitals defense as when they had Samsonov in there, but they were able to figure it out with him. And some people are saying, well, it's not, it's not just Vanecek, it's Samsonov. Well, like I say, it doesn't really make sense. And I just think that when you put a certain player in there, sometimes that evokes a certain sense of confidence. And I think that that's what they get from him. It was a game, that Seattle was in control the first 5 minutes. And when I was watching that game, I'm like, this is Seattle. They are in last place in their division. There's really no reason why the Capitals should not be able to beat them. So it was a little bit slow going at first. And then John Carlson steps in and makes a big save to keep the game scoreless. And that's what it is I think that this Capitals team is focused. And they're like, it's that momentum going forward. You get one win. And as you start to build wins and you start to gain that confidence, that's when I think that great things can really happen. And John Carlson stepped up and played really great. Tom Wilson was throwing his weight around in that game as well. And I think he was just a man on a mission, wasn't he? Just slamming people into the boards, and they ended up scoring a goal there as well. And that's what I'm talking about. Around the league, Wilson has that, people view him as a goon, someone that's just a fighter. Well, you're obviously not paying attention to who he really is. I mean, I guess you could say that he was like that maybe initially in the beginning of his career, but he's kind of grown into his own. He's matured. He's had Ovechkin and Backstrom kind of as mentors around him to kind of steer him in the right direction. And I think that he's kind of finding his own. I mean, he's not afraid of mixing it up in the corner by any means. But I mean, he is an elite goal scorer, and I said that on the NHL Locked On podcast that I think he's an elite goal scorer, and people got to start to see that. And there's not 30, of any of the 32 other teams out there, there's not one of them that would not love to have a Tom Wilson on your team. Case in point, I mean, there's people that kind of emulate Tom Wilson. If you see what the Rangers did in the beginning of the season, they picked up Reeves just for Tom Wilson. And they've kind of said as much, that the New York Rangers team was kind of inexperienced. They were younger guys. There was no really big guys on the team. They had a lot of goal scoring potential, but if you had a team that was an intimidator or an enforcer, they would just kind of have their way with you. So that's why they brought Ryan Reeves in. But if you remember that last game with the Rangers, those two didn't even really mix it up. And on the national broadcast, they just kept singing the praises of Ryan Reeves. Oh, what a great player he is. Yeah, I don't think he's all that great. I mean, he's, like I say, he's that intimidator. He's that enforcer on your team. But I'm not too smitten by Reeves by any stretch of the imagination. And then Tom Wilson had that great goal, as we talked about, with Ovi with the assist. And that's what I'm saying. I think he was a man on a mission. John Carlson had that strong play. And then you get that goal from Tom Wilson there with Ovi with the assist. It's a team that's banding together, and they have one goal in mind. Now, I know that there's no real dreams of winning the division anymore, or, the President's Trophy, anything like that. At this point, it's trying to get your team to gel and to work together and to be ready for the playoffs. Because unless the Capitals fell flat on their face, I don't think that I think even if they lost most every one of their games, I think that they would still end up being a wild card team. But they still have to, when it comes time to the playoffs, they have to have a team that's firing on all cylinders, and they're working in that direction. So after the break, we're going to continue to talk about the game here, but just my takeaways from that game is a strong play from Vitek Vanecek, Tom Wilson, and Ovechkin. And then after the break, we're going to talk about the rest of the game, how great Ovechkin's playing as he's making his march towards being the leader in goals, and just the schedule ahead. But first, from our sponsor, our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy. I got 2 kids at home and I can use that extra energy. I'm doing this podcast late at night and I work all day, so I need that little extra boost of energy. And I wanted a supplement that actually tastes great, and that Athletic Greens does taste great. And I wanted to see what the hype was about. Now I've taken it for only about 1 week, but I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It has kind of a mild tropical taste, and I actually look forward to taking it each morning. Some of those vitamins you take out there, you're like, oh, this big horse pill. I don't want to take it. So, what is this stuff? With 1 delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system and immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. We're all getting older out there, aren't we? I'm 45. Where's the time gone? Anyway, all the things. I personally use it because I have 2 babies at home, like I said, and I could use that extra boost of energy if I'm not up in the middle of the night giving them a bottle. I'm at work all day, so I need that extra energy. But it's not just about the energy. There's some healthy facts about it. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Green uses the best of the best products based in the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. Importance of multivitamins. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small microbe with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Your subscription comes with a 1-year supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in these winter months. We're kind of swinging towards the spring here, but the winter months, you can kind of lack that vitamin D. So the price, it costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season, it's just 1 scoop in and of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletics Greens is giving you free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up with ultimately daily nutritional science. So that's what it's about. It's about eating healthier. And, I think we should all make a pledge to do that. So in this segment, we're going to kind of continue to talk about the game. So to start the second, you got that goal from Blackwell. Vanecek was screened there on that play. And, I think that that was one of those tough goals that Vanecek was kind of down and out of position. But so they got that goal there. No shots on goal by the Caps in the first 5 minutes. So it seems like Seattle was really applying that pressure. And at first in the second there, it seems like that the Capitals kind of lost their focus there. Orlov gets smashed into the boards and Ovi steps in. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that with all the thing that's going on with Russian players, I think that Ovechkin thought the last thing you're going to do is mess with one of my players. And that's what ended up happening there. And Orlov stepped in. So that's what I'm saying. You don't want to step up to Orlov. I mean, they're going through enough, those Russian players in the league. So that's why Ovechkin stepped in and said, no, you're not going to do that. Not this time. Seattle has the 23rd ranked penalty kill unit. And, I got to say, it kind of reinforced my thought when you saw them play last night. They did not play the best. And then you get a goal from Sheary with Wilson with the assist. So Sheary is one of those guys I was talking about before where you kind of looked at him. And when they first picked him up, I thought to myself, why did they pick up Sheary? Who's this guy? But I mean, he's been a pleasant surprise within the Capitals organization. As you know, that he had played some time he played some time with the Penguins. And but he when he came over to the Capitals, like I say, I was a little like, who's this guy? But he's playing pretty good right now, and I'm glad that they did. So that concludes the start of the third period. Ovechkin gets that power play goal. It's 4-2. And Ovi's making his stride towards Yager. He's going to pass him. Ovi's 764th. It's too short of Jaromir Jagr, and it's definitely within view. He's definitely going to pass Yager. And then I don't if he's going to meet the rest of his objectives this year. I'm not entirely sure, but he is moving in the right direction. And kind of a strange stat here is that Ovechkin has 2 goals against the Kraken. Now, the Capitals have only played the Kraken 2 different times this season. They played them once out in Seattle and then this last one in DC. So it's kind of just one of those odd things that I've seen where it seems like certain players have certain teams' number, and it's not really explainable as to why that is. But for whatever reason, it seems like Ovechkin has the Kraken's number, and hey, I'm fine with that. Vanecek was making big saves in the third. And, like I say, I mean, I've kind of talked about him throughout this podcast, but it's that sense of calm that Vanecek has on the whole team. When Ilya was in there, it was just kind of inconsistent play the entire game. And then, so Vanecek is standing tall in the third. I mean, he's just kind of a wall out there. Like, he did allow some goals, but I mean, ultimately, I think that he played well. I mean, I think it's an unrealistic expectation to think that your goalie's never going to allow any goals. As long as your team is able to get a win, that's what counts. And the Capitals did. And then Sheary gets his second goal of the game. And then that's the final, 5-2. He only allowed 2 goals, and he was under pressure for a majority of the game. And for a Seattle team that is kind of ranked in the last in their division, they played pretty well, I got to say. But the Capitals, they're working together, and that's what it's all about, just kind of working as a team, and they did that. And so the 3 stars of the game were Ovechkin, Wilson. Yeah, the 3 stars were Ovechkin, Wilson, and Sheary were the top 3 stars of the game. So hats off to those guys. I mean, those are kind of no-brainers. Ovechkin with his goal and Wilson with his play and Sheary. So they played outstanding. So after the break, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Ovechkin, Sheary, and Vanecek and their top play that they played. That was a great game. That was a great team win by your Washington Capitals. They got to keep this moving forward. They have a big opponent next week, or this week as I'm recording it, in the form of the Calgary Flames. They got firepower from the floor to the rafters. So now that they kind of got that swagger out there, like we got that swag when that we're winning games, they got to keep going with that. And I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, but I think that you got to go with you got to go with Vanecek. He's your hot hand in net. So we'll talk about that. What's coming up next with Ovechkin and Sheary in the Caps lineup. But first, football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, total player performance, props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number 1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, we were talking about earlier with our earlier sponsor, it's about eating healthy and, having positive eating habits. Well, here's another one that I like. And I actually like that they sponsor this show because I eat them all the time. There's so many temptations out there with junk food, to be honest with you. And, there's fast food and junk food and candy. Here's one good one for you, Built Bar. This is the time of year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a great treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite and one of mine with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're so good. They're going to be your new favorite. So here's the offer, and you got to take it up on this. I did this offer, and I mean, it's a really great bar, and it feels like you're eating healthy. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. Thank you, Built Bar. You make a delicious treat, and it feels good to eat healthy, doesn't it? It really does. So, in this segment, we're going to start out by talking about Alex Ovechkin. This marks the first time in Ovechkin's career he scored a goal against Chris Driedger, his 154th different goaltender he scored on. Now in his career, they have been 6,693 skaters in NHL history with 154 or fewer goals in their career. A 3.9 for Ovechkin, who has a goal, a primary assist, and a secondary assist. The Caps power play now has 13 goals in the last 13 games. And Ovechkin is part of that. And this team is all pulling on the rope, as Barry Trotz used to say. And that's what you got to do. And I think that it's kind of great that they still have some of those Barry Trotz mantras in their wheelhouse. And it's something that they kind of recall from time to time. And I've heard them talk about that. And Barry Trotz, you'll never be able to underestimate what he did for that Caps team. Just a real coach. I mean, he took them to the Stanley Cup, of course, but nothing to diminish away from Peter Laviolette. But Barry Trotz and Mitch Korn will forever hold a fond place in my heart, and I think in Caps Nation as well. Laviolette has now the most wins of any U.S. coach, so there you go. The proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Laviolette just continues to keep winning pretty much on every team that he's on. Let's hope that the Capitals can keep moving forward. I think that, the first thing that people like to do is they like to panic and go, fire the coach, fire the coach. Laviolette can't, he can't put the skates on and skate for the guys. They got to listen to him because of his experience. He cast a wide shadow. Look at the teams that he played on or he coached before. He coached Carolina, won a Stanley Cup. Then he played with the Flyers or coached the Flyers, and he coached the Predators. So this guy knows what he's doing. And with the Predators, when they finished the season, they ended up going to the playoffs. So you just kind of got to put your faith in him that Laviolette knows what he's doing and his assistant coaches know what they're doing. And it's all gelling together, Caps Nation. There's no need to push the panic button. This team is going and it's trending in the right direction. So another guy with a really great game last night was Conor Sheary. And he had two milestones. He had 100 career points and 100 career goals and 200 career points. Conor Sheary scored a pair of goals, including the game winner on the power play to help the Caps get past the Seattle Kraken on Saturday night at Capital One Arena. Sheary on goals, 99 and 100 is kind of a weird way to get your 100th, but I'll take it. Sometimes those milestones can get in your head a little bit. So to get a nice, easy one was probably maybe the best way to do it. And I can put it behind me and move forward. And that's what you got to kind of do. You can't let those ideas and those thoughts linger in your head. If Ovechkin did that, he would probably never score another goal. I mean, to know that you will probably be the NHL leader in goals, if that was me, that would kind of make me stuck in my own head. I got to get a goal. I got to get a goal if I'm going to, pass Gretzky. But when you get to be a level of a professional athlete, I think you can kind of compartmentalize things and keep everything into perspective. So a big night for Sheary. Like I said, at first when they picked him up, I wasn't sure about him. It was a name that I had heard just from watching the Caps play him, but a real pleasant surprise. And I hope that Sheary sticks around for a while. Vitek Vanecek with a 29-save night in Washington Nets. Vitek Vanecek was sharp once again, earning his 12th win of the season, improving to a 7-4-0 record in his last 11 decisions. Laviolette on Vanecek's 29-save performance, for sure. That can give you some confidence out there. Like I talked about earlier, Vitek has looked really good. He seemed like he was in control tonight, and he was. And, a lot of Caps beat writers kind of panned him at first. They did. They're like, At best, he is a starting goaltender in AHL Hershey. And I heard that from some of the most big names in Caps beat writers out there. They said that. But when Henrik Lundqvist was supposed to start last season, and then he had that heart issue, people automatically thought it was going to be Samsonov because he was the franchise goaltender. But then enter Vitek Vanecek. And I think that he kind of put to rest, any idea that he wasn't the goalie that he knew he was. He played pretty much lights out the entire season. And then he had that fluke accident in postseason. And that's kind of, in a lot of ways, what derailed the Capitals team. But I'm really glad they were able to get Vanecek back from Seattle. I know that they picked him up in that expansion draft, and with some wheeling and dealings with Winnipeg and moving Dylan over there, blah, blah, blah. They were able to get Vanecek back. There's kind of a sense of panic amongst Caps Nation about who are we going to have in net next season. So it was just kind of reassuring to see Vanecek come back, and Vitek Vanecek standing strong this season. He sustained that major injury when he was playing against the Penguins, where he kind of took it right under the chin there. And he missed most of February. And I think there was a little concern out there if he was going to be able to come back in top form. Anytime you're kind of sitting on the shelf there for a while, you get out of condition and you lose your focus. I know he was probably working with the goalie coaches and the strength and conditioning coaches, but it's not the same as real game time practice. But a pleasant surprise all around for Vitek Vanecek and for Caps Nation. He, to come in and be that steady hand to kind of calm the rest of the players down. Like I said before, same defense, different result. Vanecek calm over the entire team, and the Capitals continue to win. I don't think it's a coincidence. Another one out there, Wilson, as we talked about, he was out there smashing people into the boards like he always does. And, he's an intimidator, but what have we found out is that not only is he an intimidator, he is a goal scorer. And Wilson on the highlight reel goal, I was just saying in the room that you might have to go back to my OHL days to find one of those. It's nice when they go in for sure. And it was a highlight reel goal. I was watching at home, and my son thought the same thing. And it'll probably end up being on the NHL highlight reels going forward there. But just Wilson stepping up and scoring some goals, and not afraid to throw that big frame around, because that's what you got to do. You got to throw the body around and be that intimidating force, because that's why the Caps have him. I know they got Mantha back, and it's really great to have Mantha back, but I don't think he's totally up to speed. I mean, he played solid out there last night, but I don't think he's totally up to speed. But he's that other big frame out there that can kind of stand to be an intimidator. And then Jensen on Caps 2-game winning streak. There's a lot of good things, a lot of good signs, but we've got to keep getting better and keep building. Not everything is perfect right now, but it's going in the right direction. And Jensen was another one where it was a real pleasant surprise. Because for the most part, Jensen, if you guys remember, was kind of on the block to get traded. And everyone's like, why did we pick him up from the Red Wings? They looked at the Kempny deal when they picked him up, and that worked out really great at first until he sustained all those injuries. And then they picked up Jensen, and they thought that, they were going to have that same success. And it took Jensen a while to to find his own on this Caps team. But I think that he has. And I'm really glad that he's stepping up. I don't know what he did to refocus himself or up his game, but it's definitely noticeable out there, and he has some offensive power. I mean, if I would have told you that last year, that Nick Jensen's going to play next year and have offensive power, I think I would have been laughed at. So just really happy all around. And Caps Nation, you can be happy with how they're playing out there. I mean, there's the signs that they're going in the right direction is great. And just looking at the standings here real quick here, the Capitals are still in fourth place, so it's 38-18. And they have 69 points. Ahead of them are the Rangers with 75, the Penguins 77, the Hurricanes 81. So, I mean, that's what they got to do, is they just got to kind of keep chipping away at it, because they have no time. There's 10 points that separates the Capitals and the Blue Jackets. And the Blue Jackets, as of late, have kind of been turning up the pressure as well. I don't think there's enough runway for them to pass the Capitals, but I think that if they just keep going with the momentum that they have, I think that everything will be right. So that is the Locked On Capitals podcast for today. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy. Hosts Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So let's all just sigh a breath of relief. The Capitals played well, and they've strung together 2 wins. It was kind of doom and gloom here last week when I was doing this podcast. So to start off this week, to tell you about a win and 2 wins is a really great feeling. So this is the start of week 2 for me. Like I said, the first week was a little rough, and I'm just trying to get used to everything. There's all kinds of buttons and cameras and lights going on here. But thanks for sticking with, and thank you for watching or listening. And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a great day.